we've got to start with the NASCAR side of the aisle, and particularly because of our man Ross Chastain. Now, really quick, before I get into this, me and Keith, if you're new to the show, and if you are, thank you for joining us. But if you're new to the show, understand me and Keith have been very big advocates of Ross Chastain. I've loved what he's done this year in terms of his racing and stuff like that. And Keith, I know you feel the same way. He's just been
Absolutely.
awesome. Yeah, he's been awesome, man. And what Trackhouse has done as a whole has been incredible. And when I was watching the race in Atlanta on Sunday, I noticed that there has now been a shift in the story of Ross Chastain. I'm going to explain to you what I mean by this, okay? But before I do that, I got to lay out some context for you, a little bit of background so you understand where I'm coming from. Because I can promise you, nobody else is going to look at this the way that I'm going to lay it out for you right now. It will happen eventually, but not right now, okay? And I'll explain to you what I mean by that. When it comes to story structure, we as society, right? Just society as a whole, not just the media or anything like that, but just society as a whole. We love to look at everything through the lens of story. It's how we communicate on every aspect, right? I mean, just look at what me and Keith talked about for the last 5 minutes, right? Our holidays, our 4th of July. How did we convey that to you? We conveyed it in the form of a story, right? Because if we don't do that, if it's just some kind of just dry, static, well, here's what I did, dot dot dot, like that's boring, okay? Nobody wants to hear that, and it doesn't convey the actual context of what was going on, okay? If you understand what I mean, like it doesn't convey the emotion, right? The atmosphere, just everything, okay? So that is really how we communicate with one another on every level, right? And now this has been lost in some sense when it comes to social media because of Twitter and the like crap like that. But overall, when you talk to your family or your friends, whatever, everything is through the context of story. All right. And the way that we look at our athletes or movie stars or just whoever is popular in our society, we look at it through the story. This is why we talk so much about we love to build people up, but then we love to tear them down. And what do we love to do after we tear them down? What do we love to see? We love to see a redemption story, right? Like we love to see a redemption story. It's why everybody went nuts when Tiger Woods won the Masters after all that stuff had happened, because it was redemption, right? And it really, really paints the picture of who you are. Now, there's a caveat with this, though, and the caveat is results. You see, we love to play the results and then go back and pick our story. All right. And I'll give you a couple of examples of this. Okay. Right now, if you're an NFL fan, Baker Mayfield was the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, right? He just got traded to the Carolina Panthers. When Baker Mayfield came into the league, right, he was this brash, hot shot, mouthy, right, like young kid. And it was like, no, 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 man. His teammates love him and they ball for him because he's got this brashness and he's got this take no prisoners attitude. And he goes out and he plays hard and he talks trash. And we love that about him, right? Now, a couple of years later, well, what's the story on Baker Mayfield now? Well, it's he's petty, he can't let stuff go, he's immature, and the only difference from what he was then and what he is now is the fact that he has not been winning. That is literally the only difference. Baker Mayfield is the same person today as he was 4 years ago. The only difference is back then when he was coming out of college, he was a winning quarterback. He was a stud. Right? He was a Heisman Trophy finalist. Like he was a stud, right? Playing in the playoff, the national championship, like he was the man at Oklahoma, a top five, top five program in college football. Now he just got traded from literally the walking punchline of the NFL, the Cleveland Browns, right? Like they're like, yeah, we just can't handle him no more. Okay, that's the only thing. And the only reason Cleveland traded him is because he hasn't been winning. If he had been winning, that stuff that is a negative right now would have been a positive. We would look back on that and we would say, no, no, no. we love the fact that he's got a chip on his shoulder and he takes no prisoners. He's got that killer instinct. That's what we would say. But because he's losing, it's the opposite. All right? Take Michael Jordan, okay? Michael Jordan is hands down the greatest basketball player to ever live, right? Anybody who's a fan of basketball, you can make arguments about maybe, Kareem's a better scorer, right? Or maybe Wilt was more dominating, or Russell, Bill Russell won more champions, right? Was the ultimate teammate. But at the end of the day, if you say, hey, who's the man? It's Michael Jordan. All right? Michael Jordan was the most hardcore competitor you would ever come across, right? Dude punches his team, hits his teammates, right? Is just, they're terrified of him. Just hardcore, take no prisoners, right? Does anything that he can to win. And because he won 6 championships and MVPs and did all this stuff, we look at that as a positive. And there's a great story that was told about Michael Jordan during The Last Dance, which was the 10-part documentary on the Bulls last season together with Michael Jordan. And it's on Netflix. If you have not seen that, even if you're not a sports fan, watch it because it's incredible. But there was a story. So Michael Jordan, the Bulls were playing against the Clippers. The Clippers had a guy by the name of LeBradford Smith. LeBradford Smith was a rookie. Bradford Smith comes out and drops 37 points on the Bulls. At the end of the game, Michael Jordan said that LeBradford Smith came up, put his arm around him, and told him, "Good game, Mike." All right. So now it's on, right? They're playing him on a back-to-back. So now they're flying to Los Angeles. They're going to play the Clippers in LA. Michael Jordan tells his teammates, "I'm going to have as many points as he had in the game. I'm going to score that in the first half on this kid." And he targeted that kid and just humiliated him, right? I mean, just schooled him. Jordan has 36 points in the first half. Now, when you watch the documentary and you watch the people who talk about this story, all right, because what ended up happening is years later, they find out when they asked Michael Jordan about the LeBradford Smith story, Michael Jordan says, "Nah, I made that up." LeBradford Smith never put his arm around Michael Jordan, never told him good game, never said anything to him. But because Michael Jordan is considered the ultimate winner, people say, "Oh, well, there's nothing that he won't do to put himself in the mindset that he needs to be in to win." Right? Think about that. The dude he made up a story. Just bald-faced lied. Right? Yes, he went out and scored 36 and did what he needed to do, but just made up a story. If Michael Jordan is not Michael Jordan, we would look at him and say, "Dude, he's a sociopath bouncing a ball." Like, we would be like, "What the fuck's wrong with this guy? Making up stories? You got to make shit up to go out and do your job? Shut up and do your job. Go out and play basketball." But because he's Michael Jordan, we look at that and it's like, "Oh, that's a killer instinct, man. He's got that edge." And right now, Ross Chastain is at the crossroads of which path he's going to go down. He's at that crossroads. Ross Chastain, after the Martin Truex crash, right? We're not even to the Denny Hamlin part yet. After the Truex incident, and he's working his way back through the field, just about every car that he passed, if you go back and you watch, you will see people, they're just annoyed with him. And he's not even hitting them. He's not even doing anything wrong. He's got 50% of the field that just don't like him anymore. They just don't like the dude because of past, transgressions and because of how he is. And outside of that, the fans, right, the media, we have already now written that script. The narrative has been written on Ross Chastain, and it's all going to be dependent upon now what his results are. If Ross Chastain wins races and wins a championship or 2 championships, you mark my words, he will be regarded in the Dale Earnhardt category. I'm not saying he'll be as heralded as Dale Earnhardt, right? We're talking about someone that's considered to be the GOAT. But that's the way he will be looked at in terms of aggressive driving. No, he's aggressive. He don't take prisoners. He's out there to win. But if he doesn't win, he's going to be looked at like Robbie freaking Gordon. 100%. He's going to be looked at someone's like, he's got talent. He overdrives himself. He can't control it. He's rough around the edges. He doesn't get it. 100%. We saw this with Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch was hated. We saw this with Kurt Busch. Winning fixes everything. It changes the narrative. It changes the perception about you. And Ross Chastain, the man needed, in his post-race interview, he had on national TV, he had NASCAR security around his car so people couldn't get to him. Like, he had like security, a ring of security around him. That's where he's at right now when it comes to his competitors. And I noticed this. Everybody's saying something about him because, look, the incident with Denny, in my opinion, the incident with Denny, that was not anything. Like at Gateway, he went into that like I'm sending it, and sorry, Denny, you're just on the short end of the stick, right? Like that's basically what it was. At Atlanta, he was aggressive. He should know better, but that wasn't, I mean, that's just, he lost nose of the car, went up the track, and Denny Hamlin just happened to pay for it. That wasn't like him just being just overly aggressive, moronic, stupid, right? Like, that's just him not knowing when to back off, okay? Two completely different things. But because he has the rep that he has now amongst his peers, that's the way it's seen. And every driver now, the vast majority of them, right? They all say it. They're all talking about it. Okay? Got caught up in Ross's crap again. The guy's a freaking idiot. His decisions are going to have consequences. It's already looked at that. But I've heard both sides of the story from a lot of different people in the media, TV, whatever. And those two narratives are already written for Ross Chastain. It's only up to what he's going to do now on the track. If he wins races and wins a championship, mark my words, he will be regarded as a Tony Stewart, Dale Earnhardt, that type of driver. Take no prisoners, got that edge. That's what we want to see. If he doesn't win, we're going to fucking torch him for it. 100%. Just like we have done with Baker Mayfield and all the other guys who go through that stuff.